Okay, good morning, everybody. Yes, it is January 25th, 2018. Guess what? I got a new computer, but that's not going to solve the problem. My internet line is still not quite right, so that's the next upgrade I'm going to have to do. Again, hello, everyone. I'm Roy Potter. This is the Potter Expositor, the YouTube live stream version. No suit, no background. I do this when I feel like something's happened and I need to, get on like right away. Uh, but I'm not going to talk about any serious news. A couple things. What I'm going to talk about is optimism versus skepticism versus cynicism and how it applies to the situation that we're in now. But before I go there, let me show you what the difference between being optimistic and believing everything is going to go okay and taking an active part. Because as Ronald Reagan said, we must trust but verify. And all of the founding fathers said that, it's nice to have the ideas, but you have to back them up with action. So lest anybody, I know most of you know that I was at Bundy Ranch and I've been active calling out the government, the corruption in government for a long time. And not just the government, ecclesiastical institutions, corporations, etc. But there have been times that I've had to get on the ground, get down on the ground and do something. And so I'm wearing a shirt today. Not that wearing a shirt proves anything, but considering the fact that the evidence is all there on YouTube and in the news and everything, I'll stand up for this. You remember this? Victory over oppression. This is the Bundy Ranch t-shirt for the people that were there. I was thinking about having Brand Thornton on today, but I'm not quite ready to, who was there with me, but I'm not quite ready to do that with a phone conversation. I wouldn't be able to get him on screen. It'd be a phone connection, but and talk about that. But then these other things came up, and I decided that it was more important to address these. So the point of this is, of course, we can be optimistic all we want, but blind optimism is dangerous, and the Founding Fathers understood that. And that's why they made the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, because they were skeptical of the intentions of people who attain power. I don't care who they are. There's only one being that's good, and that's God. There's an old saying, in God we trust, all the rest pay cash, right? So we need to keep our heads on and our critical thinking all of the time. I tweeted out this morning a YouTube video from Anonymous, and I agree exactly with what the guy is saying. At least I guess it's a guy, it's a computer-generated voice. And he's wearing his mask, and he makes a good point about why he wears the mask, because that way he's not in it for money or for fame or anything else. But there's another side to that, and I brought it up. And that other side, of course, is that without a face, it's pretty hard to identify with it. And a person without a face isn't really putting their life or fortune on the line. There are times to wear a mask, and there are times when you don't. I'll just leave it at that. Okay. Alex Jones yesterday brought up something that I thought was pretty important, and I've been calling for it for a long time. I have not wanted the military to get involved in having to take the reins away from these alphabet agencies, but I really don't see any other way around it, of course. And what Alex Jones said was that it's time for the Army to go arrest all of these coup plotters and all of the people who are acting seditiously throughout the government and throughout the mainstream media. And yes, Don Lemon, I'm talking about you. And yes, Chuck Todd, I'm talking about you. And yes, Anderson Cooper, I'm talking about you. And all the rest of you, all of your buddies. because you're all actually CIA, and you're on the bad side of the CIA, the one that says it's okay to lie to the American people for your own benefit, not for the benefit of the American people, which wouldn't make sense anyway. Lie to the American people for their own benefit. Yeah. So anyway, for a long time now, as most of you know, I've been calling for that it's going to be necessary to arrest these people. And Alex Jones and I basically said, the military is probably going to have to do it. There are other options. And I noticed that let's see, who was that? I forget who did it now. Anyway, someone else today, I forgot who it was, called that the U.S. Marshals, of course, using the indictments and all that, the U.S. Marshals should go out and start arresting these people as well. I'm not sure about the jurisdiction of the Marshals in this situation, but I think what all this shows is that we realize that the corruption in the intelligence community, including the DOJ and the FBI, is so perverse and so pervasive that we really have no other choice than to act, because our life and lives and well-being are at stake because of what these people have done. Scott Anthony put up something. I'm going to go here with this now, I think, because I think it's important. You all know who Scott Anthony is. I've mentioned him a lot of times. He's on Twitter. That's him right there. I don't know if you can see that. Let's see if it's probably not going to focus on it. It wants to focus on me. Whatever. He brings up this thing with this memo from the DOJ, Assistant Attorney General Stephen Boyd. And I don't know if you all have read that, but basically what it is it's basically the DOJ and their cronies trying to cover up for their crimes by saying that, without being able to address the issues that Nunes and these guys are bringing up, that it endangers their means and methods and their national security. It's always the same excuse to cover up their criminal behavior. But as the motto on my channel says, the real danger to our national security, the real danger to our safety and our well-being and our defense is that the intel community is our most dangerous domestic enemy, and all of that evidence is now coming to the forefront. So I wanted to read this. I'm going to read Scott Anthony's response to the IC, and particularly to Stephen Boyd of the DOJ, who is an underling of Sessions. That's why I have I still wonder about Sessions and Wray, and I know a lot of people are saying, oh, trust, 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 no skepticism, all this. Our country, we have a constitution because we're built on the idea of skepticism, and Ronald Reagan said it best, as I just said, trust but verify. Well, the verifications aren't looking too good on some issues. I'm not talking about what Trump is trying to do. I'm talking about the people that are out under him doing these things, and a lot of it doesn't make any sense. But anyway, so this is Scott's. If you haven't read the memo, I'll read Scott's answer first, and then I'm going to just point out some things in the memo. This is Scott Anthony, quote, "Here is the key point the intelligence community is missing. Congress has oversight over intelligence community agencies. With a simple vote, any and all agencies can be defunded. Threatening the House of Representatives is a bad move, really bad." And of course, these operatives, these left behinds, these Marxists, these Leninists, and they don't even have to be that. They can just be jealous of their power that they have in their institution. They feel more loyalty to their one little part of the government rather than to the Constitution. And that's a problem. And I think you all understand that. I certainly do. So let me read parts of this memo. This again is from Stephen Boyd. If you haven't seen this on the web, let me read it for you real quick. This is to Chairman Nunes, and it says, "Dear Mr. Chairman, Recent news reports indicate a classified memorandum prepared by House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence staff alleges abuses at the Department of Justice and the Federal Bureau of Investigation in the FISA process. We understand many members of the House of Representatives have viewed this memorandum and that it has raised concerns. As you know, we have provided HPSCI with more than 1,000 pages of classified documents. He's trying to say that they've cooperated. I'm going to skip through some of this. Then he says this: the Department of Justice takes any allegations of abuse of our justice system by department employees seriously. Really? Then how come you haven't done anything about it, Boyd? And don't tell me you're still investigating it. With just the information that I've seen now, Boyd, I'd have made an arrest. Actually, a bunch of them. Further, we assume that the HPSCI members want to provide evidence of any specific allegations of misconduct to department officials so that we may take appropriate action. No, it's so that you can change the classification so that you can avoid having to talk about it. We're not stupid, Boyd. I'm sorry, these type of people just really irritate me. And then he says, though we are currently unaware of any wrongdoing related to the FISA process. Really? Really? I mean, that's an outright lie just up front. We agree that any abuse of that system cannot be tolerated. Then why did you tolerate it and even encourage it? You know, like I say, I'm skipping over some of this. I just want to get to some of the major points. Okay. Then he says this. In addition, we have also heard the HPSCI is considering making the classified memorandum available to the public and the media, an unprecedented action. Well, Mr. Boyd, desperate times call for desperate measures, and our government, especially the IC and the DOJ and the FBI, are corrupt as hell. You're the ones that are a danger to everything that we are, everything we stand for, or should stand for. And then he says, we believe it would be extraordinarily reckless for the committee to disclose such information publicly without giving the department and the FBI the opportunity to review the memorandum and to advise the HPC of the risk, here we go, of harm to national security and to ongoing investigations. The risk to the ongoing investigations, Russia is going to, the risk is that they'll prove that it's all a hokey-doke BS hunt. That's the danger that they're worried about. And then they'll try to say other things, but you know, that's all horse manure too. Sorry, you can tell sometimes I get a little irritated. You didn't know that, right? Risk to, or harm to national security and to ongoing investigation that could come from public release. Indeed, we do not understand why the committee would possibly seek to disclose classified and law enforcement sensitive information without first consulting with the relevant members of the intelligence community. Really, the intelligence community is our most dangerous domestic enemy, Mr. God, you know, these guys are just, they're so full of themselves, so arrogant. Okay. Then he goes on to some other things, and he says that it could be a problem for friendly foreign governments. I say embarrass the governments that have been involved in this, in all acts of corruption. Okay, and then he talks about good faith of the department and all this. What good faith? They haven't shown any good faith. From the Bundy trials in Nevada to the Hammond situation in Oregon to the Red River situation to Garland, Texas to 9/11, Mueller covering that up. Really, good faith? We don't have any faith in you, Department of Justice or FBI or the IC. You got to be kidding. Asking for this at this point in the game, you know, that's long past. You lost your trust a long time ago. Okay, I think that's enough. I think you get the idea. That's the kind of attitude that these people in your government have. And you want to know why you need to be skeptical? Now you say, well, we don't need to be skeptical of Donald Trump. I'm a supporter of Donald Trump, 100%. But I understand the responsibilities that the Constitution gave the people. Trust but verify. Keeping them on course. Keep their feet to the fire. Okay? And there are entities out there, I'll just say it that way, who claim to be speaking for the president, and they very well may be. You know, they very well may be. But I'm not going to put all my eggs in that basket. Okay? And I don't think anybody should. Okay? All right. I'll leave that for now, and let's move on to something else. By the way, I suggest that you all go look at Scott Anthony's channel, because what I'm going to get into next, he has covered quite extensively. We saw a lot of military aircraft activity over Germany, over Europe a few days ago. And there have been a lot of explanations for that, you know, that there are civilian combat trainers who are training pilots, all kinds of things. And of course, I'm not saying that's not true. But anytime you have an increase in alert, yeah, you do. I mean, even in combat, right when it's going on, you'll have exercises to train the troops how to engage the enemy. So just because there's an exercise going on doesn't mean that something serious isn't occurring. Do you understand what I'm saying here? So we notice this uptick in these combat air patrols, these combat air patrols, and it could be to make sure that the big threat is the Russians, right? Well, the Russians aren't a threat. That's ridiculous, except as we threaten them. And people say, well, how dare you say that? Well, it's just true, okay? It's just true. Because the people that are still trying to do all of this are New World Order, cabal individuals who are still trying to steal the show from President Trump. But these uptick in military aircraft could have been, I don't think, any response to what the Russians are doing. They could be to protect, because as I said in the live stream yesterday, I had first heard that Trump would not go to Davos because of an assassination attempt. And then, of course, either he changed his mind or that was information that wasn't accurate. And that could very well be. But at any rate, he is going. That's not in question now. He's left this morning, as a matter of fact. And these particular CAPs, combat aircraft patrols, could have been done to start to secure the area. But from what? Well, hasn't the EU army been put into place? Haven't they said they will use the army to force nations back into the EU and to perform their duties for immigration and for the banking situation and all that? Yes. Is it possible that some state actor in the EU might attempt to take out Trump? I believe that's true. I believe that is very true. So I would expect, and I'm sure Scott Anthony's keeping a close eye on this, as are most of you who have access to that information, are keeping a close watch on the skies. I'm certain of that. And on the ground as well. This is going to be tricky. He's going to be amongst enemies there, not friends. Oh, you know, I don't know if Nigel Farage goes to Davos. I doubt it. He might. People like that would be there and be friendly to him, but he's mostly going into a den of thieves, a den of murderers, and murderers, liars, and thieves. How else can I put it? So anyway, I think that that's probably what's going on there, is to try to make sure that President Trump is protected. And as I said the other day, I don't think the Russians have any intention of attacking us, even if we go into a civil war here, an active civil war inside the government that could spill out into the population. I don't think Russians would be getting involved in that. I think they would be trying to help President Trump. That's the way I look at it, because it's in their best interest, despite what the CIA and the FBI and the neocons and the Trotskyites tell you, which is all horse manure. They're the problems in the world. They've created more chaos. Yeah, order out of chaos, right? They're liars, thieves, and murderers. Okay. I think I've probably covered most everything I was going to. Let me switch here to the other screen so I can see your chat. Okay. All right. Now I can see the chat room now. Yeah, I actually fixed that so I could do that. And I'll look at that. Like I say, eventually here I'm probably going to have a phone you can call in on. It's going to be hard for that though, because you always get the the trolls calling in. I don't mind disagreements with me. That I'm willing to go with that. But these other people, these trolls that try to name call you or get you off on some other topic or whatever, that's hard to do when I'm taking the calls myself. So I'll have to think about how I want to do that. I got a little message from a lady this morning, like I was saying, and she was saying that she just doesn't know if she can trust anything anymore. And I understand that. We've tried so hard for so many years without any progress in restoring the constitutional republic back to what it should be. And I understand that. And it has been frustrating. And I've seen other people say, you can't doubt President Trump. You can't doubt, I hate to say this, but I'm going to say, you can't doubt Q. You can't doubt the restoration, the coming together of the Second American Revolution. No, I don't doubt the efforts to make the Second American Revolution occur. But the moment you give in to blind optimism and put aside vigilance and healthy skepticism, you're doomed. Cynicism, I'm going to define as pessimism. Okay? Skepticism is not pessimism. It's optimism, but with verification, insisting on verification. Reagan again said it best, trust but verify. So what would I say? The scriptures tell us that there is only one that's good, and that's God. And we're told not to doubt God. Okay, but we have to be careful when it comes to men. No matter how good this president may be, and I believe that he is the best we have probably ever had since George Washington, maybe even over him under the circumstances. The office can be corrupted again by somebody else. All it would take is a bullet to Trump, or, I don't think he would give in to blackmail. First of all, there's no way to blackmail him except maybe take do something to a member of his family or something like that. But even then, I think that he would rise above that. As horrible a situation as that would be, I think he would have the courage to do that. So what am I telling you folks who worry about where this is going? I have to go to the scriptures again. And that's the only way I can answer it. Because the devil, Satan, and those that follow him, be they his seed or whatever, it's what they are. You won't change them. They won't repent. They won't. They've proven it over thousands of years that they will not repent. Look what's going on now. Rather than repent, they come up with a thing like, release the memo hashtag that probably millions of us sent out. Oh, that was a Russian bot, according to Feinstein and Adam Schiff. And then you have the MSM getting on there and saying that, we're all just, like I said, Russian agents. So they cannot, it's against their nature to tell the truth. I can't explain it to you any other way. It's against their nature to tell the truth. Just like it would be against God's nature to lie. It's that simple. So about a third of the hosts of heaven were cast out because of their disobedience and their rebellion against the perfect law of liberty. That perfect law of liberty was established in a not perfect form, because we're in mortality, here on earth in some places during our history, the United States being the most recent, and actually Russia's coming up on it now. And that brings up an interesting conversation of what the two witnesses in Revelations are, but I'm not going to go there today. I'm going to stick with the third of the hosts of heaven that were cast out. That is a blueprint for what's happening here on earth. Think about this, ladies and gentlemen. At least a third of the people on this earth aren't good. They see things in an evil light. It's in their DNA, and they will not change. Those of us who have a mixture of that DNA and the good DNA genes, it's a war in our flesh over which side is going to win. And the only way the good side is going to win is for the heart and the mind to be able to accept the truth. And what's the truth? Well, that which gives the perfect law of liberty. Life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness is the way they put it in the Declaration of Independence. So I'm pontificating a little bit, but we're looking for emergent leaders. Trump became one. He seized the initiative. He gets off track every once in a while because he does have a prideful personality, but he should. He's a man. He's an alpha male, but he has to check that. I know he does, and I know he does all the time. But it doesn't help to remind him. We need people that will think on their feet. We need people that will act, show the fruits of the intents of their heart. Not just cry for, be optimistic, don't doubt, trust. Yeah, trust, but verify. Always. Never, ever abrogate your critical thinking or your willingness to take abuse to oppose the majority opinion. So that's my sermon for the day. I hope that those people who are concerned about things not going well will see that there really is hope. It's moving slowly, but I think things are occurring because the panic that I see in the intelligence community, in the FBI, the DOJ, in the Clinton cabal, there is panic there. There's a lot of it. You can see it on their faces. So they know that it's here. They know that they're going to be exposed, and they're doing everything they can to try to postpone it or to destroy this battle against their corruption. So it's not going to be fun, but, and I'd like to say that it's in the bag, because God's in control. He's going to make sure, but this is a test for us, ladies and gentlemen. This is a test. And so we're going to have to be the ones, and I say it this way a lot. I say, I'll stand on principle even if I'm the only one to do so. And we all have to have that. And I'm not saying I'm perfect. That's not what I mean. That's what I aspire to. Okay? That's what I want to be. Sometimes I failed. All right. Let's see what's in the chat here. Pastor Roy. Okay. All right. I was actually told I should be a reverend or a pastor. Somebody's going to set me up in my own church, but that goes against my principles. So I wasn't going to do that. All right. The Lord helps those who help themselves. Yeah, I believe that. Evil will not prevail. In the end, it won't. That's true. That's true. Pray together. That's absolutely true. Wasn't Russia protected the coast during the first Civil War? Yeah. Russia is not the Soviet. Good point. Because of the Soviet Union, which the bankers and the New World. Well, they did call it. Well, I guess they did call it the New World Order. The bankers and the cabal, uh, actually from New York and London and those places, they're actually the ones that turned the Russian uh, monarchy, the Russian government, the Russian people into a communist country. They financed that. So it came from us. We did that, and I think most of you know that. People in the supposed free world are the ones that did that to the Russians. Horrible thing that they did. And it took, what, 60 years or so, 60, 70 years before the Russians were able to wake up and realize that wasn't good, that they had lost so many millions of their own people and they were under this tyranny. The Russians have returned as a people to the principles that are coming closer to the perfect law of liberty. The family, they love the family. President Putin, he went into I guess it's a ritual they do up there where they get into a cold pond. He walks down into it and they dip into it. And I think the Greek Orthodox Church or the Russian Orthodox church leader is right there. I think that's who that was. But anyway, just before he goes underneath the water, he did the sign of the cross. He's not putting that on, ladies and gentlemen. He's not doing that for show. I believe he's really that way. I think he and Trump have had some really good talks. And if there's collusion, it's the good kind. It's trying to make peace in the world so that the neocons and the Trotskyites don't blow the planet up for their corruption and for their greed and their jealousy. So at any rate, I think the Russians did at that time probably protect our coast. I can't swear to that. But I think that's what they're doing now. I think that's the activity we're seeing out in the Atlantic at this point, just off our coast. Okay. Yeah, Russia is not the same as the Soviet Union. Right. It would be like, as an example, let's say, God forbid, that Clinton had gotten into office. Kind of equate that with Lenin and the Soviet Revolution taking over Russia. Clinton gets into office, and our country turns into a hellhole. The world turns into a hellhole for 60 years. And then somebody comes along and says, this isn't good, and a Donald Trump in the future in 60 years gets elected, and we return to the constitutional republic. That's the story of the Russian people at this point. They've gone back to their roots, especially their Christian roots and their desire for prosperity and goodness. I'm not saying there aren't wicked people in their intelligence communities, because all the intelligence communities around the world are really working for themselves, not even for their governments. That's why Putin understands what's going on. Okay, so I do. The Russians and the Soviet Union are two entirely different things, but they try to keep the evil people in our government, the Trotskyites, the neocons, the MSM, the CIA. Of course, they're the same thing. The FBI. Keep wanting to have the Russians be the enemy so that they can continue with their evil. These cabal people can continue with their evil and keep the finger pointed at somebody else. Yeah, absolutely. Felony Behavior Incorporated. That's a better one than I came up with the other day. I like that. I'm going to write that down. Felony Behavior Incorporated. That's just too good. Thank you so much. I'm going to use that. I'm going to plagiarize you on that. Is that all right? Because it's true. It's true. It's a protection racket for the elites. A criminal protection racket for the elites. Thank you for that. I'm going to use that. I'm going to plagiarize you. I don't know who that was, but it was great. All right. Let's see if I can answer anything else here. We've been going on for a while, and I don't want to keep everybody here. There are so many things we could talk about, but I know that there's some more. There's a lot of more news that's going to come out today. I want you all to go listen to Jordan Sather and Isaac Green and Tracy Beans. Go look at Scott Anthony's post. Go look at American Intelligence Media, American Intelligence Reports, and all of those that I've mentioned. The Sargent Report, and we could go on and on. I didn't mention InfoWars. No, go listen to InfoWars too. Despite everybody makes mistakes, and there's still good information that can come out of there. I don't spend all my time there. I usually look at the YouTube post that they put up later rather than listening to the whole show. But, you know, it serves a purpose. So I appreciate what Alex has done. And I just hope he gets to the point where he doesn't have to do a continuous run-on commercial, because that's really what his show has become, unfortunately. But I understand the reasons for that. Sometimes when you grow too fast, those things happen. And he felt the necessity of growing quickly, and probably with good reason. All right, everybody. Criminals in action for the CIA. That's better than clowns in America. Criminals in action. Man, you guys are coming up with some good stuff, and I'm going to plagiarize it. Okay, yeah, I like that. That's even better than clowns in America. I like that. Okay, everybody. Thanks for coming. Pray, prep, pray, and stay out of the way. I'm going to say this again this way: pray, prep, pray, and stay out of the way. That's where we're going to make the change, is that collective consciousness, approaching God, all of us together, and each other, and influencing hearts and minds for the good. But the evil, don't think the evil is going to turn. It isn't. It will not turn around. And it's going to do some horrible things here. So you need to be ready. Okay? They could still kill Trump. They want to. That's again why those combat air patrols were going over Europe the other day, to try to prevent any nefarious attacks. And I'm sure similar operations are being done on the ground. But he's amongst enemies, ladies and gentlemen. He's not going amongst friends there, except for the possibility of Putin if he shows up. But I don't think Putin's a part of that. So just keep that in mind, okay? All right. Go get your news and stuff, and we'll talk again in a few days. We'll probably have some more concrete things to talk about then. I know this one's been kind of a philosophizing, ranting, randomly sailing type of presentation, but sometimes we need to do this, and especially when we want to give encouragement to each other to do the very best we can, okay? And to have hope. Hope isn't the same thing as a surety, and neither is faith. The only thing that we can be assured of and use it all the time is charity, is love. Faith can fail, hope can fail, but charity abideth forever. God bless you. God bless the Republic of the United States of America. And God bless and protect President Trump. Out here.